Dear Misty, how did you end up in Florida? I heard you were from Talkeetna, Alaska. By the way, I think it is awesome that someone so amazing came from Alaska. Also, are you native? If so, full or part? I cannot tell through your makeup. What a unique question. And I say that because a couple other people asked if I was from Talkeetna. I don't know who is starting a rumor that I'm from Talkeetna. The first time somebody asked me that, I had to look it up on MapQuest or Google Maps to see where it was. I've heard the word many times, obviously, growing up, yes, in Alaska. But I've never been to Talkeetna. I didn't even know where it was. So I found out it's between Anchorage and Fairbanks, but I've never been there. I'm not from there. I don't think I have any family there. I do have family all over Alaska, but mostly around the Anchorage area. I have a couple cousins up in the North Pole, which is outside of Fairbanks, in that area. But no, I'm not from Talkeetna. And I'm not native at all. Not full or part. I know a lot of times people think I'm black or they can't tell what I am through my makeup, but I'm white. My bloodline actually comes from Iowa. My mother and all her brothers and sisters went to high school in Iowa, and my grandmother's brother was in the Air Force, stationed at Almendorf Air Force Base in Anchorage, Alaska, and after the gold rush bought a bunch of property at like pennies on the dollar. And in his divorce, he sold the boarding house to my grandparents, and long story short, they went up to take care of it and therefore started a new bloodline in Alaska. How did I end up in Florida? That's a very complex question. Growing up, my dad was a minister, so we moved around a lot for Jesus. We lived in Indiana and Kentucky. I chose to live in Oklahoma because I went to Oral Roberts University, and from there I chose Florida. Now it's weird because growing up my family and I were very, very, very close. The typical religious family where blood and family is the most important thing ever, but also conformity, a lot like the church. Yeah. But in that type of family and situation, conformity is also very, very important. Meaning, everyone has to be the same. Everyone has to look the same. Everyone has to act the same. And they put a lot of emphasis on conformity and not diversity. And growing up, ever since I was 9 years old, I knew that I was a gay boy. And it was a lifelong struggle, and it was very, very, very hard for me because I tried to fit in, I tried to be normal, and I couldn't. But here I am, this little gay boy, you know, youth group leader and praise and worship leader, and I'm trying to be conforming and normal just like everybody else, and yet my heart is saying, shine bright like a diamond. And here we are singing songs like, I put it under a bush, oh no, I'm gonna let it shine. And I wanted to shine. So long story short, that is why I got the fuck out of Dodge. Because I had to discover to be my own person. I had to shine. And I knew that being around my loved ones, especially since I'm the oldest, I had a responsibility. And I'm very much a mother, as you know from watching my channel. But I'm very much a mother, and I took the relationship to my family much more important than the relationship to myself. But I knew in my heart that if I would have stayed home, I would have been pushed into one of those family jobs. Like, I don't know what your family would want you to do. Mine would definitely push me into the ministry. I would have been a Teen Mania youth group leader or missionary, or I would have been very, very much involved in the church because I had a lot of pressure from my family to be amazing, and I couldn't do that. I had to find my own path and become my own unique person. You know, I felt like my family was pushing me to be the accountant in a little locked office where no one would come and talk to me. And I'm the one that needed to be around all the crap. I needed, you know, change. I needed people. I needed a lot of things. But also, I couldn't be hiding under that bushel. You know, I had to be... It's just a long story. The reality is, I do miss my family a lot, but I'm very much a Florida person. I chose Florida from college, from looking at, I think it was Genre magazine. In the back of the magazine, there was like a Fort Lauderdale section where there was so much. I'm like, that's where I'm going. But also, I do feel that my spirit animal is a dolphin and mermaids, and I'm just very much a sea life person. I was on the swim team for 7 years. I did scuba. I just love the water, and I had to be down here, and I love it down here. I've been to Alaska a couple times in the last few years in the summer. It's beautiful, but Florida's the opposite of Alaska in every way that you can imagine, including the fact that people in Florida love cold and people in Alaska love warm. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but to me it does. I have my house set at 68, 70 degrees. I like it cold. When I get in my bed, if it's cold, I'm happy. People in Alaska, they like it warm. They have their houses set at 80, 85 degrees. And they get in warm beds with heating blankets. I don't like that. I have air conditioning on in my car. They have heaters. You know, they like warm, I like cold. And it's funny because when I do go to places that are cold, it freaks me out that people wear their coats and scarves and sweaters, and they're in a place that's heated with a big heater, and they're just standing there in all their stuff. I'm like, oh my god, it's so hot. I gotta take all this off. I'm dying. Like, I can't take it. I get overheated. But I live in Florida. And when I go like to New York or Chicago, like I go to Chicago every year for Easter weekend, which is continental, and it is frigid cold. And I always make the hotel turn my air conditioning on in my room because I can't sleep with a room being warm. Yeah, so I'm weird. Long story short, I'm not native. I am from Alaska, but mostly the Anchorage area, and the suburbs like Wasilla, Palmer, Big Lake, Eagle River. But I've never been to Talkeetna. I don't know my next visit. My brother and I were talking about possibly coming up in the summer. This summer, maybe. I'm not sure. I know that I'm planning on going to England in August for one of my lashes is getting married, and I was asked to be in the wedding. So I'm not sure how financially that's going to all pan out, but I might have to skip Alaska this year and do it next year. But I don't know. But yeah, if you obviously sound like you're from Alaska because you knew the word native, which meant kind of like American Indian would be Native American, but it's Native Alaskan. And I'm sure they're in a similar bloodline. But yeah, that was an Ask Misty. Loving you, Zizi.